Grumpy Jay, the tiger, the great homework hustle. In the lush jungle where Grumpy Jay lived, life was always filled with adventures and new discoveries. But amidst all the excitement, there were also lessons to be learned, especially when it came to being responsible. One sunny day, as the jungle buzzed with activity, Grumpy Jay found himself facing a new challenge: a homework. His teacher, Mrs. Rabbit, had given each of the jungle animals a set of assignments to complete by the end of the week. Grumpy Jay wrinkled his nose at the thought of homework. "Why do I need to do this?" he grumbled to himself. "I'd rather be exploring the jungle than sitting inside doing boring schoolwork." With that thought, Grumpy Jay decided to ignore his homework and focus on more exciting things instead. Day after day, he pushed the assignments to the back of his mind, convinced that he could deal with them later. But as the week went by, Grumpy Jay's pile of unfinished homework grew larger and larger. He ignored Mrs. Rabbit's reminders and warnings, too caught up in his own adventures to pay attention to his responsibilities. Finally, the day arrived for the homework to be submitted. Grumpy Jay realized with a sinking feeling in his stomach that he had nothing to turn in. Panic gripped him as he realized the consequences of his actions. Frantically, Grumpy Jay raced to Mrs. Rabbit's classroom, hoping against hope that he could come up with an excuse or a solution. But as he stood before his teacher, empty-handed and ashamed, there was nothing he could say. Mrs. Rabbit looked at him with disappointment in her eyes. "Grumpy Jay, I'm sorry, but I can't accept your excuses. Part of being a responsible student is completing your assignments on time." Grumpy Jay felt tears pricking at the corners of his eyes. He had let himself down, his teacher down, and worst of all, he had let his grumpiness get the better of him. As he trudged home, Grumpy Jay couldn't shake the feeling of regret that weighed heavy on his heart. He knew he had made a mistake, and he vowed to make things right. That night, as the jungle settled into darkness, Grumpy Jay sat down with his homework, determined to catch up on what he had missed. It wasn't easy, and there were moments when he wanted to give up, but he pushed through, realizing that being responsible meant facing the consequences of his actions. Weeks passed, and Grumpy Jay worked hard to make up for lost time. Slowly but surely, his pile of unfinished homework dwindled, until at last he was caught up with his classmates. But more importantly, Grumpy Jay had learned a valuable lesson about responsibility. From that day on, he approached his schoolwork with diligence and determination. Knowing that being responsible meant more than just completing assignments, it meant taking ownership of his actions and learning from his mistakes. And so, with a newfound sense of responsibility, Grumpy Jay continued his adventures in the jungle, knowing that he was capable of facing any challenge that came his way. But that, my dear children, is a story for another day. Moral of the story: Grumpy Jay learned that being responsible means facing the consequences of your actions and taking ownership of your responsibilities. By ignoring his homework, he faced the consequences of not being prepared. But through hard work and determination, he learned the importance of responsibility and made things right. Thank you for coming along on Grumpy Jay, the tiger's exciting adventure, the great homework hustle. We hope you had loads of fun following Grumpy Jay's jungle journey, filled with laughter and important lessons. Don't forget to give a big thumbs up and hit subscribe, so you never miss out on Grumpy Jay's next amazing adventure. As we say goodbye for now, we wish you dreams full of excitement and happy thoughts. May your days be filled with courage and responsibility, just like Grumpy Jay's. Until we meet again for more fun stories, take care and let your imagination soar high. Good night.